Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. Another episode of the Liverpool Connection podcast, Pub Chat. We're here after the Chelsea Liverpool game, 0-0. Got my mates, Jono from Scotland, Del Cross from Ireland. So, the guys with the funny accents, I'd like to keep you guys close. But anyway, so 0-0. But before we get into the game, let's talk about the lineup. Pretty much unchanged from the midweek game against Wolves, except for Allison coming in for Kelleher and Robbo coming in for Simicus. So thoughts about that, Del Cross?
Yeah, I have been calling for that for a number of weeks now, so I'm not surprised. I think the lineup today was merited on performances from the lads during the week, and I think it was merited on the flip side of that from poor performances from the lads that were kind of left out today. For me, there was no real surprise in the people that were left out. I thought there was a little bit more energy about the team. Um, yeah, as far as lineup goes, yeah, I think for me it was no qualms.
I think the big question, Jono, was whether the Badger would get another start after the Wolves game, right? We've been calling for him to play more, and he did get another start. I thought he played well. What are your initial thoughts about the lineup that you saw?
I mean, I agree with Chris that pretty much deserved. I'm a little surprised that Klopp did stick with the as many folks as he did, especially Milner. I thought maybe also Bajcetic, even though I probably would have started him myself. I'm a little surprised he didn't switch back to one of the traditional guys. And I thought it midfield wise, probably just about did well enough. I mean, we brought Hendo on later on. I'm jumping ahead here, but it didn't seem. It certainly didn't help, or Fabinho for that matter. So I thought the midfield did well enough. Um, I think you never know with a guy like Nunes. I think a lot of people would have liked to have seen him start rather than stick him with the three that he did in the front. But who knows? Like maybe he wasn't quite ready to play 90. That's the kind of stuff we'll never know. So lineup wise, I was okay with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the surprise again is Milner starting at right back, Trent being on the bench. Does that signify that Klopp understands that Trent hasn't had the standards this season? He's only had one assist, where he had 12 at this time last season, right? At this point of the season, is that just a message, or is this like Klopp is just rewarding Milner for playing such a good game against Wolves?
I don't know. Look, I think there's no disputing the fact that Trent hasn't been to the standards that he's set for himself over at all probably this season. I think there was a little bit of talk under that he only trained maybe late this week too, so he may have something going on there. Um, but in saying that, I don't think he'd be surprised being dropped. To be honest with you, Milner. Milner, he's always going to put in a shift for you. He's always going to put in a performance for you. His passing was absolutely shocking today. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
I think when you do that sub Milner for Trent, there is an offset, right? The attack versus the defensive responsibilities, and that's always going to be the case. And so it's not a surprise that Milner got another start, but you do lose a little bit of that effectiveness going forward. But um, to me, honestly, there's no surprise that this was a draw because the last I don't know how many games, John, that we've drawn them in the league and in cup finals. So they're always tight, no matter what the position in the table. So before we continue, I just want to give a shout out to BD Riley's. We had pints at 7 o'clock this morning after the garage bar, so we always appreciate them being good hosts for us. So um, let's talk about the game a little bit. We a little bit outpossessed, 52-48. Not that much, but we outshot them. Had not by much, but let's go back to they had a chance at the very beginning of the game on the corner, was offsides, but we're all thinking, here we go again, another slow start for the team. We what? Why are we starting so slow in these games?
Yeah, I mean that one was there was a bit of bad luck in it for just to give away the corner in the first place. Milner just lets it go out. Obviously, he didn't see the touch or whatever. And then we pretty lucky on the fact that it was ruled out. Honestly, it seems like we've dropped off with set pieces again this year. We're pretty good with them last year, defending and attacking. Um, and then I think that knocked us a little bit because we looked nervous for the next, I'd say 30, 35 minutes. We weren't awful. Like we didn't give away terrible chances after that, but we couldn't get on top either. It seemed like there were phases of play. So that first 35 or so, and then towards the end of the first half, we somehow created a few chances. Gapco seems to have got the Nunes yips and started blasting the ball over the bar a little bit. But at least we were kind of creating a little bit towards the end of that first half. I mean, it wasn't much, but when confidence is so low, my expectations are kind of just like keep it tight, and I think that's what Klopp went into the game is like we got to just try and just stop giving away the crazy chances. So I think we were deliberately pretty defensive that first half.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, Todd. Yeah, I think we're just a team that's low on confidence, aren't we? And it shows. Yeah, the corner got pretty lucky with that. Well, I guess we were unlucky, as Jono said. You know, Milner should have seen the touch and prevented the corner. But then you got to regroup. Once the corner is given, you got to regroup and defend it better, and we didn't. And just fortunate. Just fortunate that Allison didn't actually save it and it hit the post, because I think if Allison saves that and it comes back out, it's a goal. So lucky there. I think it took us 35 minutes to get a shot on target, and at that it was a pretty tame effort from Thiago. So yeah, I mean it was disjointed is the word that I would say. We kind of played a little bit in patches where we a couple of spells where we put a couple of passes together.
All right, John, let's talk about the second half. We kicked Chris to the curb because he left a quarter of his pint of Guinness.
Shocking behaviour from an
So
Irish
all
guy.
you listeners in Ireland, give him some shit when he comes back to the island, man. They left a fucking Guinness here. But Jono, as a true Scotsman, you're
Yes.
fucking taking care of it.
I
so
will try my
appreciate
best.
it. So let's go to the second half. You know, the team started off really on the front foot. You know, for the first 15 minutes, we're taking it to them. We had a lot of possession. We're creating stuff, and then it kind of just stagnated, right? It went back to two teams playing for a draw. That's what it looked like to me. Not wanting to be exposed a lot. You know, Chelsea still wasting time whenever they had a chance. Then we bring in some subs: Nunez, Fabinho, Trent, and Jones. And in my opinion, only Nunez really showed some positivity. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the second half, I agree. We looked really good, positive, slick. You know, one touch passing, kind of almost looked for a minute like Liverpool we'd recognise. Um, it's kind of funny because Nunes comes on at a time when I think we started kind of getting nervous again and hesitant. Even though he still managed to create stuff, everybody else seemed to not be on the page. So it was a bit unfortunate for Nunes. He creates that chance by keeping it in from the byline for Trent, and I think a lot of folks were in the pub were kind of shouting for take a touch, but honestly, there was somebody there that was kind of closing on him. I'm not sure. It'd have to be a really perfect quick touch and shot. He does okay, but again, it's over the bar like a lot of our shots were today. And then we kind of faded back into um, hesitancy and stuff, and definitely when the other subs came on, Hendo and Fab, again they just didn't look up to the speed of the game to me. Plus, I thought Elliot, has looked good in the front line today. Maybe not as good as Wolves, but then when he moved back to that midfield position again, I think he gave the ball away a few times, and it just feels like right now, just so Klopp seems to just really trust him and want him to be on the field no matter what. So when he's playing in the front and he takes somebody off, he did it in another game. I can't remember, but he moved him back. I guess it was Wolves. He moved him back into the midfield in that game too. And I just thought Keita didn't necessarily deserve that. He wasn't perfect today, Keita. He made some mistakes, but he's working hard. And I'd rather he would have stuck with Keita in that midfield, honestly. But maybe, he's got data that I don't, and maybe Keita can't do 90. It doesn't seem like he trusts him to do 90, at least not very often. So, yeah, it was a little disappointing the way we kind of reverted. I'm a little surprised with Chelsea's time wasting. I don't feel like 1 point is, right now in this season, the way we're playing and the way they're playing, I don't think 1 point at Anfield is a good result for them. It might be in a normal season, but I think that's a mistake from them. And, they probably could have, would have been better for them to go for the throat if I was them. But hey, their mistake.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on the Keita sub. I would like to have seen him uh, stay on the pitch. But it's interesting because you have a Jones, you have a Elliott, you have a Carvalho, Ox, and I don't even know if Klopp knows what are they forward players or are they midfield players, and so those are four people that are key to the team, and we're really not sure what position they should play at this stage of the season, and really at the stage of their career. With Ox being on the team for 4 years or plus, you don't, and Jones has been around. What is their best position? But so we're 9 points out of fourth place. Newcastle's in fourth. Still a lot of games to play. What are your expectations kicking off this second half of the season? Can we, with Brighton coming up in the FA Cup midweek? So, what's your expectations? Not midweek. I'm sorry, in 8 days. So we have a lot of time to rest. So, against a quality opponent today, a draw at home is not the end of the world. Do we kick on from here, or is it just going to be the same old, same old?
It's really hard to say whether this is going to be seen as a decent point. I mean, it doesn't feel like it to us, right? Because we're still kind of hoping that we're going to really kick on and get fourth and be back to where we were. But I think the confidence has dropped so low that actually Klopp has had to kind of go back to now. We've got to be tight first. We can't just be going for these wins without being super careful first. So I think it remains to be seen. I think fourth is a long way off now. I think it's pretty much gone unless there's some big collapses happen above us. And I think he just has to build this confidence of this team back. And in my mind, he'll be thinking between now and February 21st, when that Real Madrid game comes around, we just have to get points and gradually build that team's confidence and hope that the likes of Jota is back, avoid some more injuries in that midfield. Personally, with Brighton coming up, we've got 8 days. I say he mostly stick with the same midfield, certainly. I would imagine Nunes kind of finds his way back into that front line. And some of those other tweener people that we've got, Ox, Carvalho, Elliott, are just, I think that's been a little bit forced on him, right? With all the forwards being out. And with our midfield not performing to where we expect, he's just going to have to kind of do what he can to win games and get confidence back up. And I would expect Brighton, very similar team with maybe Nunes in there. Maybe Trent comes back in, but based on that last 10 minutes, he didn't fill me with confidence there either. So I'm not sure who plays that right back spot. That's what I would just hope he does for Brighton.
We'll have another episode of the podcast before the Brighton game just to kind of preview it. Since it's 8 weeks from now, there are a lot of things. Not 8 weeks. I wish. No, I don't, because then that would be out of the pub for 8 weeks. But so in 8 days, a lot of things can happen, whether it be injuries. Well, let's just say it's just injuries with our team. A lot of injuries can happen in 8 days. Let's knock on wood that nothing happens, that everybody's getting healthy again. But a draw, not the end of the world. So we fight again. Yep. We're still in the FA Cup. We're still fighting for the position in the league, and it is what it is. It's still pints at 7:00 in the morning, so it can't be that bad, right? So anyway, thank you guys for subscribing. Shout out to BD Riley's again. Peggy, that I told him I'd give him a shout out for serving us this morning, getting up early. So thank you guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.
Cheers.